Hello everybody! Today we're going to be talking about a weapon that I never expected I would have to talk about again after my first thoughts on it, which is custom Explosher. I'm going to talk a little bit about it because I've been playing it recently. For those who don't know, I used to main Explo in Splatoon 2. I had around 5 million paint on it. I used it even in all modes because I was kind of insane. Like, I don't know why I did that, not in a good way. So, you know, I'm pretty familiar with the weapon, and I haven't really played it much in this game, to be fair. Like, my vanilla Explosher still does not have a 3rd star, so, you know, it came out, I played it a little bit on launch, and I quickly kind of figured, I don't think that, even though the kit's not bad, I don't think the weapon is really super worth it, especially crab meta, let alone after. And, you know, I just kind of, it didn't really mesh with things. You couldn't run VXplode with pencil, edit wasn't in the game, but even with edit VXplode was a little too passive. And, you know, the zap comps weren't great. I was just like, okay, I don't really see a reason to pick this weapon. There's a lot of other options. And Expo just kind of fell on the back burner for that, for now. It kind of became like a, you know, I play it occasionally for fun, very rarely, but I don't have too much thoughts on it. And then the custom Expo kit happened. Everyone laughed at it because it was really funny. And then they buffed triple splashdown. And, like, I gotta get this out of the way because people love to do the discussion of, like, this weapon was always good. I can't believe people didn't see it before. Mainly with pencil. And, like, I get the sentiment, but it's not how it works. Like, pencil was bad. It wasn't people thought it was bad and it wasn't bad. Pencil was bad. Pencil had 2 full charges. It didn't combo with things. It did 60 damage. Like, your shot is not one-tapping after. Your squeezer is not one-tapping after. You're fighting crabs where you're like a 10 shot against them. You have cooler that's like pre a bunch of different nerfs. Like, it's just not the same. It wasn't until cooler meta where pencil started being a real thing outside of like brine and mincemeat where it changed the objective by painting the zone multiple times. Now, Expo obviously has a lot less changes here. You know, there's not a large history there. It's just the triple splashdown buff. So I think let's start with triple splashdown and then we'll get our way back to the main gun. So, I've said before that I think the concept of the triple splashdown rework was great. I did my special design tier list a while back that will eventually be edited into a video. It's just really long and then they keep changing the special, so we have to modify it. It will happen, but I ranked that as like the 2nd highest tier. I thought it was really cool design-wise. I thought it was just a bit undertuned balance-wise. And one thing that a lot of people wanted, including myself, I said a lot, was the 10-frame splashdown buff, reverting it so that splashdown is the same speed as in Splatoon 2. And I want to reiterate that the buff we got was better than that buff. That 10-frame buff means only the player hits the floor faster. The change they actually did is the player and both fists are 10 frames faster. That means there are 3 separate hitboxes that are 10 frames faster, or a total speed buff, you know, in total of what they changed, of an entire half a second. That is a lot. A lot. It is a massive, massive change. And yes, they nerfed the radius by 13%, but the radius was already massive. You don't even really feel the change. The radius is still, you know, just fine, unless you use the super jump splashdown. But the super jump splashdown is already so bad that anyone with experience on the special super jumps in, hits the floor, and then presses the right stick when they use it. So, what do I think of splashdown right now? It does result in your death a lot of the time, but it does actually kill things if they're fighting you. It's really hard to kill a splashdown and not die. It's not impossible, but there's a lot of times you can set up splashdown at angles to where it's unfeasible. And a lot of times that'll mean that your opponents either have to just accept the trade offer with you where they're going to die, or they have to spend more time running away, which means they don't have the time to actually shoot you down, because the fists just drop too quickly now. And I think that's great. And this special just ends up being really useful. It's also great against objects, like Booyah Bomb or Crab. Mainly because the fists hit later, you can break objects and then kill them. Stuff like the Rainmaker shield, if you're playing all modes, you can pop the shield with like only the fists almost. So you don't even need yourself to be there. It's crazy. It's not as good as Zone's Cheese as Reef Slider, but like, good. I don't want to Zone's Cheese. So I think it's pretty insane, honestly. It's not like an amazing special. In particular, it kind of sucks on lockout. Like, you can splash down and have the fist hit under a ledge, but that's very rarely going to actually kill anybody. Most of the time, that's more a, I need to make desperate sure that this ledge is clear so we can move quickly, so I'll pop it here. Most of the time, you're just trying to get in with Splashdown, and Expo, of course, approaching is not super easy. It's the main downside with it, other than not having a combo outside of the direct hit. But it is still able to play, like, pretty aggro, and that's really what the kit does to bring this back to the weapon, is Explo can kind of stand a lot more forward because it has a wall and a splashdown, so the splashdown kind of serves as a threat of, hey, if you approach me, I'm gonna pop the right stick and it's gonna be a problem for you. Mainly if people are weak, so if you're playing with other chip damage comps that can, like, do decent damage, or even if you just hit the opponent first, you now have the, oh god, I have, like, damage on you and you're going to die to this next splashdown hitting the floor, so I can't approach, you know, and you have the wall. So it gives Explo two tools that kind of serve as a get away from me, and before Splashdown didn't actually work at doing that because it was too slow, but now it actually kind of works. You know, people might get better at it, it might not be as good as it is right now, because I know most top-level players I'm fighting with Explo just have not fought buff triple Splashdown at all in this game, because, like, outside of this and occasionally Gold Knot, nobody picks it. So there is a lack of experience, and I think, you know, I'll be able to get better with the special, but probably there is more things people can do against the special that they're not doing right now. So it'll probably mellow out. And then again, it's not a retake tool. So there's still some problems. Luckily, Explo is pretty good on retake because it just paints a lot, has good range, can poke people behind corners. I think it's really nice as a main weapon right now. I would say that it's really good against all of the mid-range weapons right now because it paints their feet in addition to the chip damage, and like the chip damage is already pretty good, but the ability to hit something like a bucket or a range blaster that can't easily paint their feet and just trap them so other people can burst them down is really, really good right now. A lot more weapons struggle to just kind of move on their own that are being picked, so Expo could be really good into those. I think if you fight more mobile comps, like the triple shooter that some people pick, the 52 squeezer shot comp, it's not worth it. But I think Explo's main niche is just bullying midlines, kind of slotting into that meta, while still having options to deal with people who try to rush it down. Which means its only real counters are backlines. It still sucks in a charger. Pencil is very good into it, admittedly. It can kill the splashdowns really easily, but it's not that bad a matchup, I would say. It still can't one-shot you when its damage to wall is low, so if you have like Last Ditch and you can use more of your wall, that's kind of an option. And a lot of the time you can kind of just shoot where Pencil can't mess with you. But you're very rarely going to be the guy killing the Pencil. That's kind of the main downside of it all. So, yeah. I don't think it's any exceptional weapon. I think it's like B to A tier zones weapon, and probably not worth it in the other modes. The only one that makes me debate it is maybe Rainmaker, because the Splashdown Rainmaker shield damage is kind of insane. And right now, people, like, all the backlines in Rain kind of suck anyway, so Expo's not amazing there, but, like, the options people pick are, like, kind of bad there anyway, like, it's Pencil's worst mode, and it's not really a full backline, so it doesn't work for every comp. People are picking the Rapids, but Rapid doesn't really kill Rain quickly, and unlike Expo, it doesn't paint under it, but it's, like, kind of the solid weapon. Some people are doing Backless, which has its own problems, so it's, like, Expo could maybe slot in a mode where people are already struggling to pick the right stuff. But I think this is mainly a weapon you pick with, like, Stamper and other burst damage weapons, and Edit has to be your cooler weapon. I think Edit almost always should be the cooler weapon with this, because Edit can also hang back at times. Edit's another one of those weapons that flexes between going in and hanging back. So you can kind of naturally cycle which one of your players hangs back and which one of them goes forward at the right times. You just have to get a bit used to it with whatever Edit player you play with, because it is something where you both can't go in at the same time and vice versa. But I think it works out pretty well, and then Stamper and Splash are the main things I would consider with it right now. Splash is kind of another weapon that's entered a lot more competitive discussion recently, because there have been a few more people doing well with it to enable the midlines. And, like, it's not as good at shot at fighting, and it doesn't have a special as good as Zuka, but it's a better teammate for the other guns in your team than it is for shot. So if Splash ends up being real as well, then I think Splash would be a perfect fourth weapon for that comp. If Splash isn't real, I don't know what you play with it. With those two in Sword, I have no idea. Maybe you just play another mid-range fighting weapon, since the Expo and Edit can paint pretty well. Like, maybe you do, like, Squeezer or something really odd and just try to kill the enemy team a lot. Or maybe there's something else, I'm not sure. But, I mean, that's all my thoughts on it right now. Like, it's good enough to where I'm interested in playing it for the time being and trying it out and stuff, so I'm giving it a shot. But I don't know how good it's going to actually end up being, and it's definitely more of a zones thing, so it's kind of... While we're in the zones-only era, if this lasts, I'll play it. But, you know, if things transition to all modes being more common again, I don't think Expo's going to be worth anyone's time. because it's just not... It's way worse than the other modes, even in Rainmaker. So, that's my thoughts on it. I think Triple Splashdown's a lot better. I think that the kit allows you to play with some comps that V-Expo can't. That's the thing, you can't really play V-Expo with all the stuff I've been talking about, so it helps a lot there. And, yeah, I'll de-rust with the main weapon more as I'm playing it, and hopefully I'll, Okay, I had to make an awkward cut because I got hit by a screen, but I guess I'm wrapping up anyway, so I will just trim that out. But, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I think it might be real. I'll try it out more, and I'll see what happens. Thanks for watching.